to the show. I'm here with my beautiful friend who used to be a client, and her name is Charlotte, and she has such an inspiring story that I want to share with the world. And I was just chatting to her on the weekend about how amazing her life is, and she's just blossoming, and it's just such a vast difference from when I first started working with her. And I thought, oh my God, you can inspire millions of people, girlfriend. So, firstly, Charlotte, thanks for being on the show.
Thank you for having me, Helen. I feel absolutely honored to be here right now with you.
We were having some technical difficulties before. That's why we were giggling. But we're here now. So, let's dive straight into the questions. Um, let's talk about your mindset, Charlotte. So most of you know that I am a mindset coach, and this is how we sort of started working together. And can you give us a picture of where your mindset was at prior to our coaching program? And then like what sort of made you seek a coaching program and like commit to it?
Wow, so different before coaching. Like, I don't even recognize that girl anymore, to be honest with you. I was stuck in an anxious state 24/7. No joke, 24/7. And I thought that that was the only way that I could live, which is really sad to look back on now, because there's so much more to life than that. But I was so used to being in that state that I just thought that that was the way that my life was and that I was stuck with that. Um, Coaching with you came up as an opportunity that I didn't expect. It was when you first became a coach and you were looking for people to try it out for you for the first time. And I thought something within me just told me, I need to do this. I need to do this. I've tried other things. I've tried counseling, different types of therapy. It just wasn't working for me.
Mm,
And this opportunity came up, and I thought, you know what, Charlotte, this is it. Give it a go. See what happens.
wow. How bad did your anxiety get? Like, were you ever on meds?
I was. I was on medication, a few different types. Also on the pill as well.
Mm-hmm.
And I think in the end, with all of that as well, it just wasn't working for me. I think a lot of people will turn to that because doctors do recommend. But for me, it kind of felt like a band-aid. It wasn't getting to the core of what was really going on within me.
And I remember you had a great doctor, and your doctor actually encouraged you to do the mindset coaching program. Remember?
He did. Yeah.
Such a good doctor. Have you seen him recently?
Yes, he's amazing. I love him. He's been looking after me since I was 12 years old. Every time he sees me, he's like, "Hello, Charlotte. How are you?" He's
So
always
he
happy to see me.
has he noticed a difference within you?
Oh, entirely.
Wow.
Entirely.
That's so beautiful. So let's talk about what you started learning and discovering throughout our time together. Can you talk about any specific things that you learned or discovered about yourself during our intense program together?
So many things. It's hard to pick just a few, but I noticed that I did not believe in myself
Mm.
at all. I noticed that I didn't love myself at all. I didn't know what those things felt like. And upon noticing that, that's where the magic began, I think. And it didn't happen overnight. It took time. As you know, we continued that programming for quite a long time, probably longer than some people may need,
Yeah.
but I wouldn't trade it for the world. It honestly changed my life.
Yeah, I don't like leaving people if they're not fully conquered, whatever it is that's holding them back. And I remember how many times we said together, we're walking through the mud.
Yes,
We walked through
we
so much,
did.
through so much mud together. Can you share an example of a mindset shift or a breakthrough that occurred during your sessions or even afterwards? Like, when was there a moment where you were like, uh-huh.
Oh, so many aha moments, Helen. These are
I
some
know,
hard
I don't.
questions because it's hard to pick just a few things.
Mm,
Uh, Look, I would say the most significant to me would be that exercise that we did in front of the mirror where I had to tell myself, I love you.
Mm.
That was huge, very confronting, because I knew in that moment, oh my God, Charlotte, you don't know what this feels like, and you don't feel that way. So to do that was so eye-opening. And I think from then on, I started to realize that this is where you need to do the real work on yourself and love yourself. So important, because as a person, I'm giving and caring as it is anyway, and I'm loving. But how can I be that way to others if I'm not first giving it to me?
Mm. I just got goosebumps everywhere. There was an exercise where we had to write, you had to write some beliefs about yourself. And the
I know
exercise
what you're going to
was
say. Yeah.
for you to say it to me like you're just saying it to me. And you, I remember this clearly because you're one of my clients that just did not want to do it. You're like, I don't want to say this to you. No, I don't want to do that. I can't
Yep.
say these to you. And it's like, look at these things that we say to ourselves in our mind and we repeat them every day. These fake beliefs, these made up stories, these lies about ourselves that we're not enough, that we're not worthy, that we're not this, we're not whatever. And when it comes to saying it to someone, you're such a beautiful person that you couldn't even say it out of your mouth because you didn't want to hurt someone else. And then it's like, well, why do I choose to hurt myself like this? Do you know? And I
Exactly.
find that was such a powerful exercise for lots of people um, that lack self-worth,
It's
self-love.
Yeah, it's funny that you mentioned that actually. I was having that same conversation with a friend of mine at the gym the other week, telling her exactly what you just mentioned. I was supposed to, say this to my coach, all the things I believed about myself, but I couldn't in that moment. I thought, I don't want to say this to you, Helen. Like, these things are horrible. And I said to her that you said to me, well, why do you say them about yourself then, Charlotte? And it was like a whoa,
Just got goosebumps again. You give
big
me
moment.
so many goosebumps. It's crazy because I used to do the same thing. It's like we are so mean to ourselves. And where did we learn that? And where did we even think that that was okay to even operate from that sort of a mindset? Before we move on, Charlotte, it's time for your first curveball. Are you ready to play?
Ooh, I'm ready.
What is your favorite form of self-care?
Definitely exercise every time. I tell people the physical benefits of exercise is a bonus, but it's what it does for your mentality, which is everything.
What are you doing after this podcast show?
Going to the gym.
All right, let's move on. Charlotte, what's some tangible changes or accomplishments in your life that you attribute to the coaching program? It can be anything like your career, your relationships, friendships, yourself, family.
All of those things that you mentioned, to be honest, I would say, especially my friendships. From doing all of this deep work on myself, I can now honestly say I have the most beautiful friends in my life, the most beautiful connections,
Mm.
friends that really want the best for you. There's no bad intentions whatsoever. We just lift each other up. We encourage each other. We're there for each other through the hard times, the good times. Just the type of people that you want in your life. I have now.
How good is that?
Yeah, it's beautiful.
Yeah, navigating friendships can be yuck and sticky and just really uncomfortable. And
Mm,
once we understand that we are worthy of great friends and we are worthy of uplifting, soulful friendships, it can make the world of difference to the toxic cycles that we get ourselves into. So how has your
absolutely.
so how has your perception changed of yourself, Charlotte, or any of your capabilities? How has anything changed?
Ooh, heaps. A lot has changed. I used to perceive myself in a way which I guess you could say was small. I couldn't think big. I just felt trapped in a little shell. And
Mm.
I knew I wanted to get out of it, but like I was saying earlier, I didn't know how. And through coaching, I realized that it all comes down to self belief. all comes down to what you think about yourself to begin with. So, something I'd like to share, which
Mm.
I know you're very big on as well, is something that's helped me so much is affirmations, self affirmations. And it doesn't have to be ones that you read from somewhere. Maybe you can read them for purposes of inspiration. But I write them to myself in my journal. And it's amazing. Once you start, you just end up being on a roll with it. And I'll write pages and pages and pages, depending on what myself needs to hear at the time.
Mm.
Sometimes I'll write 10 pages worth. Sometimes I might write 5 pages worth. But either way, it's such an empowering exercise for your mind and just how you feel about yourself as a person.
I never
And that
real
really helped my perception change for me.
Yeah. I never realized how impactful affirmations were until everyone just started commenting like, you're so patient, you're so um happy all the time, you're so blah blah. And I swear it's affirmations that made a massive difference to me too. You don't realize the power of words, the power of words that you speak, the power of words that you say to yourself, the power of the words that you think. Just the power of words is
Yeah.
crazy. Let's talk
Yeah. And
about,
on,
yeah.
I just wanted to mention, and on that topic of being impeccable with your word, it reminds me of that book that you told me to read, The Four Agreements by
Yes.
Don Miguel Ruiz. That talks all about that. And I highly recommend anyone listening to read that book. It's a very easy read. It's one that you can read over and over. And it just has such beautiful life lessons in there.
Yep,
That
that's
really helped.
one of the books that changed my life. So good, that book, when it comes to self-development. One of my mentors made me read that book as well, and it changed my life. What about relationships, Charlotte? So, an anxious mindset, what kind of a relationship does that bring into your life? Because you did experience this. And what happens once you are able to shift that mindset when it comes to relationships?
Ooh, so kind of like taking a dive back there, talking about this. So, having an anxious mindset in a relationship can cause issues that may not even necessarily be there. It all starts with you, like we've been saying.
Mm.
And once you shift that, you realize you can think from a clearer point of view and you're not stuck in this anxious state that may be creating problems that aren't there or making things worse than they actually are. It Anxiety is just something that I really think everyone needs to conquer if they experience it. They need to find a way to conquer it. And it may be different for everyone, but there's always a way to conquer that.
And what
It's
about,
something that holds you back if not.
yes. And what about the people that you bring into your life when you have this sort of a mindset, friendships or relationships? What are the qualities of those people that you start to attract?
They have the same, usually. They have the same. It can also attract people that are wounded in a way where the only person, look, when you're wounded like that, the only person that can help you is you, right? You can have a mentor the way that I came to you, but it had to be me that made the choice to want that to begin with. And if people aren't ready to do that, then it's just not going to work in a relationship. People have to want that change. You cannot change anyone.
Yeah, it's like a vibration. I found that when my mindset wasn't as optimal as I would have liked it to be, the people that I had in my life were also sort of toxic, like I was, because that's where my mindset was. And
Yeah.
then once you started peeling back the layers, then you realize, wow, look at this. My standards right now are so low. And
Yeah.
I remember Tony Robbins once said when I went to his seminar, lift your standards. And that's just like hit me. And I was like, my gosh, I can lift my standards. You know, I do
Yes.
deserve like a better quality type of people in my life. And yeah, it just sort of reminded me of where you were to where you are now as well.
Yeah. Long way. Very different. And I think exactly what you said, it comes down to knowing that you deserve better than that. You know the good that you can put out there, and you deserve that too.
Mm. What do you feel was missing in your mindset, and how has that changed now?
Hmm. Missing in my mindset. Again, a lot of things. If I had to put it down to the most important, it would be setting healthy boundaries.
Oh,
I
yeah.
did not know how to even set a boundary to begin with. I think it would come out in a frustrated kind of way because when people disrespect your boundaries, naturally, you will get frustrated with that. It will come out in your emotions. You may get angry, you may get upset, you may get frustrated, but that isn't setting the boundary. So learning how to set the healthy boundaries was a big thing for me. And I'm sure even you can remember,
Yep.
you said to me, Charlotte, you're going to feel rude. You're going to feel really rude when you do it. But let me tell you, it is the furthest thing from rude, and you can do it in a nice way. It
Yeah,
doesn't have to be done in a horrible way.
because you're a gentle soul like me, and I know that it felt so hard for me to assert and enforce boundaries. I felt so rude because I was a people pleaser and I didn't want to upset anyone and I wanted
Yep,
everyone
me too.
happy. Yeah, and it's crazy. It's so crazy. But these are patterns that we are so lucky to have broken because once we have children, they won't have to suffer like
That's right.
we did. Oh,
Yeah.
it's time for your second curveball, Charlotte. Are you ready to play?
I'm ready.
How do you shift from a negative to a positive mindset quickly?
Oh, you've got to catch yourself. You have to catch yourself. I think what I was saying before about the affirmations is a big one that I turn to, definitely. Sometimes, if my mind is just all over the shop and I can feel myself a little bit overwhelmed or feeling a little bit down in the dumps, I'll just turn to affirmations every time.
Yeah, I love that. Sometimes it can feel like an exorcism.
Yeah, that's right. Exactly.
You just keep repeating these phrases and repeating these phrases, and then somehow you feel a change in your physiology. And then you're like,
Yeah,
okay, all right, I'm calm.
I'm back.
All right. What are some key takeaways or lessons that have stuck with you up until now?
Key lessons and takeaways. Everybody is doing the best with what they know.
Yeah.
That is a massive one, something that I mentioned to a friend the other day as well. I'm constantly talking about the things that I've learned and taken away from coaching. And like you say, it's the gift that keeps on giving. It really is. In the way that I speak to people, in the way that I live my life, I'm constantly emanating everything that I've learned in coaching. And
It's
it's just
amazing.
beautiful. It's
Mm.
just beautiful. I spoke to a friend the other week who has just started doing NLP training programming as well.
Yay.
I know. And I said to her, I'm so excited for you. This is the best thing that you'll ever do in your life.
Yeah.
Honestly, best thing.
Everyone is doing the best they can with what they know. This phrase saved my life so many times because it makes you learn the art of non-reaction sometimes when it comes to dealing with people. If you just find an empathetic point of view and realize, hold on, this person is actually just doing the best they can with what they know. I might know different things, you know? And
That's
it's
right.
in the four agreements as well, where it says, don't take things personally.
Exactly. And I've got an example of this too. It happens at work often. I'll have customers that come in that are pretty frustrated, or maybe they could be really rude to you in the moment. And I just don't take it personally. And I think back to the fact that everyone's doing the best with what they know. You've got to think of it like this. The fact that a stranger can treat another stranger like that is sad.
Mhm.
Because if they're treating you like that, how do you think they're treating their close ones? There's obviously something in their life that they're not happy with and they're sad. And you have to give more empathy to those people. It doesn't mean you drain yourself for them, but send them love. Send them love
Yes,
because they
because,
need it.
and also imagine their self-talk.
Yeah.
It would be so yucky to live in that mindset, um, because we've lived it really. And so we sort of know. Um,
Yeah.
Yeah, I always
That's
feel
right.
like after a coaching program, you sort of become like your own guru.
Yeah, it feels that way actually. I often say to my friends, okay, now I'm talking like the old wise man on the edge of the cliff. And they know some wisdom's about to come out in those moments.
So good. Charlotte, how would you describe your life now compared to the girl you were 3 years ago?
Oh, the girl 3 years ago could not even imagine where she is right now. Honestly, I say that from hand on heart. She could not imagine it. I feel like a completely different person. And I look back on me 3 years ago, or even me before 3 years ago, and think, wow, I feel for that girl. I feel for young Charlotte. I'm still young now, but I feel for younger Charlotte because she thought there was no way out. And it just goes to show when you do the hard work for yourself, because it is hard, it really is,
Mm.
it's so worth it. It's harder not to do the work.
Remember when you manifested your job?
I do. Remember when I manifested so many things that are happening right now?
Yes, it's so amazing. Charlotte had a dream to just get a job at this certain place, and I was like, just apply for it, just do it. It's one of the tasks. And I remember she's working there now, which is so amazing. And it's just crazy that once you set an intention and you get in the right mindset and you have a clear intention and a clear vision or a clear goal, how you can actually just attract it and it will come to you if you take the right steps. And that's why you keep giving me warm, fuzzy feelings. I just want everyone to feel like this. And that's why I really wanted you to come on the show today. So I'm
Me
really
too.
grateful that you're here and giving up your time right before your gym session.
I love being here. It's great. And I feel the same. I hope that my story can inspire others. And I'm comfortable to share it because I've worked through it now. And I love to share it with people that would benefit from it.
You're
100%.
so beautiful. She has such a beautiful heart, guys. Charlotte, in what ways do you feel more empowered or in control of your life after completing the program?
I think it comes back to self-belief and the fact that if I tell myself that I can do something, I can do it. That's where the empowering feelings come from, just believing in yourself. And if you know that you want to do something and set out to do it, be your biggest fan. You have to be. That's where it starts. And it all starts with you.
Mm.
And once you conquer that, once you realize that and start learning and practicing, it's an ongoing thing. I don't think it ever ends. This is the journey of life. We keep doing it, keep working at it. Like you said, you will attract exactly what it is that's meant for you along the way.
Yes, you
And you'll
have
find
to.
yourself surrounded by quality.
Yes. And you have to remind yourself that life is happening for me. Everything is happening at the right time. Just relax and just keep
Yes,
walking. Yeah.
that's right. Go with the ebbs and flows. It will be a bit rocky at times. It will feel a bit sticky, but it's part of it.
It's
It's all
part of
part of
it.
it.
Yes, exactly. That's the journey. That's the process. It's time for your last curveball, Charlotte. Are you ready to play?
Yep, throw it to me.
What is something that people wouldn't know about you?
Oh, the first thing that comes to mind, I feel like it's probably not the most exciting, but it's something that people wouldn't know. I'm actually half Sri Lankan. Yeah, my dad is Sri Lankan, but he also has a little bit of Irish in there. My mum has all the Irish, English, Scottish traits. So that's why I am white. But I've got Sri Lankan blood in me.
Have you eaten Sri Lankan food?
Yes, I love it.
Oh my
Sri Lankan,
gosh.
Indian, all that. Beautiful.
Oh my gosh. So delicious. You need to start learning how to cook your cultural dishes, girl, and invite me over for dinner.
Okay, I'll invite you if you invite me for a Greek night.
All right, done. We got one more question, and that question is, What advice would you give to someone who is considering taking a step like you did to conquering their mindset?
As in considering coaching?
Yeah.
Mm. Well, first of all, I'd say dive in and just do it. Second of all, I would say it's not going to be easy. It's hard. You've got to do the hard work. It will feel worse at times than it feels good. But I promise you, if you persist through that, you will thank yourself every day.
Which specific parts felt hard? Because I just know that people are listening saying, "What's hard? What's she talking about?"
Yeah. Um, Look, I would say what's hard about it is the fact that you have to face those things that are holding you back.
Mm,
And I don't mean just like a little bit face it, like properly face it and figure out why is this particular thing holding me back so much. And that's the
mm,
part that can be hard because to that involves getting into the emotions behind it and all of those sticky, ugly feelings that may arise with it. But it's so important to get into it because you need to figure out a way with the help of the coach to not let that hold you back anymore and to conquer it.
mm. Sometimes these things are really deep rooted conditioning that we have um, manifested because of the environment that we grew up in.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's patterns that we have learnt along the way through our role models in life or whoever it was that shaped our life. And so that's where I found it got really sticky for me. And also, when I started my journey, I didn't start with a coaching program. I started with meditation and I started with yoga. And that was actually my first foot in the door. And then
Mm,
after I started gaining some more self-awareness, that's when I was like, hey, I've got stuff that I need to, that I need to work through because I'm always angry. I've got shitty friendships that aren't like deep. The relationships that I have all just been yuck and not what I had imagined.
mm.
My money is just never there. Why am I always so broke? And yeah, why is my mind so up and down all the time? And why don't I really like the job that I'm at? It just, everything was like, it just felt so, I don't know, like it was the right time to move out of this space. I just felt like I outgrew everything in my life.
Yeah, all at once. And that in itself can be quite overwhelming to think, oh my God, like my whole life is in shambles.
Mm,
And yeah, but it's in that moment where the magic can happen if you're
yeah.
really ready for it.
And did you ever feel lonely? I remember I felt lonely sometimes during that whole period, and I was like, why
Oh,
me?
yeah, totally, totally lonely. I did have friends all along the way, but it wasn't necessarily the friends that I needed at the time as well. I don't get me wrong, I had beautiful friends along the way too, but it didn't take away that lonely feeling because I think that loneliness feeling again comes from deep within. Because put it this way, you could be alone and not feel alone because you've got your
Mm,
own back. So that's another thing that's important to look into if you're feeling lonely. Figure out why. What is it you're not doing for you to have that feeling?
Thank you so much, Charlotte. I think a big takeaway of what we're sort of saying here, the essence is make sure you're taking care of yourself through anything that you're going through. So, self-care practices are life-saving and life-changing, whatever they
Yeah,
are. Just make sure you have them in your corner and just know that wherever you are in life, if you're not happy there, you can always find a way out of it. You can do it yourself, you can do it through mentorship, you can do it through coaching, but you can get out of it and start living the life of your dreams and on your terms. Charlotte, thank
That's
you once
right.
again for being here. Any last parting words of wisdom?
Yes, I just wanted to say as well on what you just said then that you must give to yourself first before you give to others. Because in those moments in life where you feel like, oh, I've got to do this, I've got to do that. Like if you're a mum, if you're at your job, if you're helping your own mum or your friends, you have to help you first. You have to give to you before you are able to do that. Fill your own cup first, so then it can overflow into others.
So beautiful. Thank you once again. I love you.
I love you too. And thank you so much for having me.
Talk to you soon.